Okay. Hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugin Along, we returned to the TitanBar plugin. Our goal was to add several currencies as quickly as possible using the old, possibly annoying method instead of any new fanciness that I am in the middle of. So last time we added 5 currencies, but we didn't release it because I wanted to integrate other existing patches in so that it's sort of a one-stop shop for new and updated behavior. I know some other people are looking at a more of an overhaul to TitanBar. I'm looking at that, but this is just a fast, get it out the door kind of situation. So today we're going to finish that integration of patches, ship it out, and be done with it. As always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. And in the meantime, we are standing here in Glen Hellick. Excellent. Oh, I didn't get my gift today. And let's remove those for clarity. Okay. So, TitanBar. Currently what's installed on my system is the thing that we've been updating with all of this new possibilities, but it's not ready for prime time yet. So, what we want to do is move backwards in time so that we're looking at the currently released version of TitanBar and make our changes there historically. So for instance, version 1.35.30 was all the way back here. Let's go take a look at that and see if that's what's, well, that's the wrong page. If that's the version over there. And also, I'll need to actually share my desktop. So, the version over on LOTROinterface.com is right here. 1.35.30. Great. So this is the version that corresponds to that. So if I double click this, or whatever your source control interface is, but in a lot of cases double clicking, we're going to go ahead and sort of move backwards through time. So these are the files as they are there. And we can double check that. If we download, awesome. And then we're going to go ahead and just extract them. That's off screen there, but we're going to go ahead and extract all. Let's go see waves to the goose. Yes, thank you, Sugosi. So I'm going to go ahead and compare that with what's in my download directory. We're going to go ahead and take a look at all of this. And we can see that it's all the same, If I in fact just say, show me the differences, we can see that the files that are there are not part of the plugin. The source control repository files, yep, those are there. Visual Studio Code file, another Visual Studio Code file, those are present, but not a part of the plugin itself. Those are local files to me. So we can see we have reset our local files to match what is downloaded. Awesome. So what I also have off screen here are the changes that we made during the last stream. So let's go take a look at that. First of all, we can see here are those very files. So source control knows that they're different. And we're going to come in here and replace all of those files. Thank you. Okay. So these are the changes we made last time. And I didn't have source control set up last time. We were just kind of working without a net. But this is with the source control. So we can see the settings files. That's cool. I'm not too worried about those right now. We can see the changes we made to these files here. And did I have a README file of some sort? Let's see. No. Do I have it somewhere else? Well, I could have sworn I had one, but I'm not seeing where. Those are notes for a different video game. All right, well, let's go ahead and just make ourselves a little what's going on file here. So, just going to make a little window up here, and this is going to be patch notes. TitanBar version, I don't know, patch notes. So as we're committing over here to source control, and we should make a new branch. Don't forget to do that. So repository, we're going to start a feature, let's call it, and this is currencies and bug fixes. And we're going to start that. Could actually advance to where the develop master branches are, because that will make life a little bit easier. Okay, so start a feature off of develop. 5 new currencies and bug fixes. Okay, so we're going to start that. All right, and in this UI, it's bold, so that's how you know you're working on that branch. And you can see it over here in the branches list. So we're going to come in here. We are going to not worry about these settings.json files at the moment. But we can go ahead and say fixed typos in existing currencies that where S from control is not correctly updated. And that's not a very good patch note, because that tells us, like, mechanistically what's going on. So fixed typos in several existing currencies which prevented background color from working correctly. Prevented custom background colors from working correctly. Excuse me. And we're going to go ahead and turn on word wrap just so this small window works for us. Okay, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that looks like all of them. So there's 7 of these that just had that persistent problem. Those are the 5 new currencies. That's new, that's new. That's all new. 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 More new. Oh, we'll come back to the player attribute thing in a moment. That's a different bug. We'll come back to that in a moment. That's a different bug. We'll come back to that in a moment. Great. Okay, let's go ahead and commit this. And what we're going to see over here is that at the develop, we're splitting off between this line that we're working on, which is the feature, and this other one, new currencies and bug fixes. Theoretically, these could someday smash back into each other, but they're pretty incompatible. So I don't imagine this is ever going to get merged back into anything else as it stands. But we'll have a record of what the changes were that were important and be able to manually bring them in if we need to. Okay. So, what else did we do? So, one thing I'm noticing here is we're seeing a list of if the currency is this currency, or this currency, or this currency. We really just need a table that says if the currency exists in this table, and then we just need to add it to there, and this check just keeps working. But that's not a today problem. Okay, BZCs. I know I said there were other things. Let's code find them. Okay. fixed and centralized the initialization of the player at global variable. So this was a case of a few controls were just themselves setting the global variable player at equal to player get attributes, but in some cases we're using that variable without themselves also setting it. So it wasn't being set in a centralized location; it was being set ad hoc, and then some places were using it, and they just happened to work because they were in that right order. But if you stopped using those controls on your TitanBar that were initializing player attribute, player at, then the ones that were using it but weren't initializing it broke. So just a subtle thing. Most of the time, people are using those controls, but Prophets says says greetings in chat. Hello. So we're going to go ahead and commit those. So player at there. Player at here. Surely there were more than two of them. Let's come on in here. Oh, actually, I don't care about... Well, maybe I do. Well, of course, it only shows up once now. I've made the change. All right, I'll review one more time, and then we'll declare it good. Okay, background, no. Nope. Nope. That's different. Oh, there we go. Player attribute, player at. Great. Now, we actually have a secondary problem with player at, which is it's kind of good that each individual control was in charge of setting it up themselves, because when you call player, or when you call get attributes, that does tend to cause your client to hang for just a second or two while that function returns. And so in a sense, you do kind of only want to take that hit for controls that are using it. So this is maybe the wrong way to do it. Maybe you want to instead have a global variable if you must have it, but only populate. Make sure you populate it whenever you're using it, and that might be the better way to do it. But okay, now I'm thinking player at, where are we using it? So the problem is, I like the idea of centralizing the call because it means that you have a single place to stub this out if you want instead to have a fake player at, so that the player get attributes call does not in fact take time. So centralizing the call I think is good, but I could see pessimizing the call so that you only call it if in fact you're loading a control that's going to use it. However, the controls I use, the set of controls I use, does use it because I use the money control. The money control needs this. And perhaps a lot of people use it for that. So, in practice, yeah, I'm second guessing myself, but I think it's going to be fine. You know what? The other changes are so big, they're causing me to have problems. So, added new currencies. We're going to actually switch to these instead. So we're adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're adding a new currency block here and there. That's part of it. Wallet window. This is new currencies. This is new currencies. And just in case we're curious why things are lining up a little oddly, we can see some tabs got replaced with spaces. That will definitely show up as a diff. And while I'm not a fan of tabs over spaces, I am a fan of consistency. So at least on those lines. There we go. Same thing there. Actually, let's come on in and take a look at this. We can see same thing. We're going to, on the lines where we're not changing anything, we will leave it with tabs. There we go. So we can see that set is good. This is fine. This is all the new stuff. This is all new stuff, but just the new stuff. We also have the new sections in the locale file. Fascinating. Okay, we have the alternate icon to distinguish heroes' marks from tokens of heroism. We have 1, 2, 3. We have 1, 2. We have this section, this section. 1, 2, 3 section, this section, but not those, and that section. So much easier to see the not currency stuff. Alright, this is all one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 and 2. All of this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. We do see possibly a tab got deleted. There we go. So we'll stage that, and then stage that. Awesome. So these are the new currencies. Just for the sake of it, we'll go ahead and list them out. Delving Writ, Token of Heroism, Heroes Mark, Medallion of Moria, Medallion of Lothlorien. But Lothlorien has an accent over the O. Okay. So, commit those. That gives us a much smaller set of things to talk about. Fixed. And here's the thing where, I mean, this thing never seemed to actually break anything. Fixed. Typo with show mithril coins variable. Didn't seem to actually do anything, but we fixed it. Okay. In here, fixed typo with motes fixed bug with motes of enchantment background color. Anyone who was trying to use modes of enchantment while they were setting custom backgrounds would have found this, so I assume not too many people had that combination. Alright, fixed typo. And while I'm thinking about it, there was another typo. Right click on a currency names to get it is settings. Great. I guess while it's in here, I could look for other apostrophes. I'm hearing there are cats behind me. One of them is behind those picture frames over there. Ah, the other one's there. Hello, little one. But you're mostly obscured by me. It's not technically wrong. You are tracking no items, but you are not tracking any items feels a little bit more idiomatic. That's too great a change for the skip. Okay, so fixed a few typos. It's. Cool. So to get its settings, great. Yeah, I thought I made 2 of those. And to get its settings, great. So we have that. Fixed a few typos. Those don't even need to go into player notes, but they exist. Consolidated the initialization of player at in one place. Like I said, I could see arguments for having this kept apart. This isn't necessarily like authoritatively it must be right, but we can see here load player money has a local player attribute that it's using, so it's not even paying attention to the global player attribute that's being populated in other places, which, yeah. So this feels a step in the right direction, even if it's not the final direction. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do those, and that's it. Commit. So we are at a place where we have a clean working directory. All the changes we've made have been applied, except for these 2 settings files. I'm not going to worry about them right now, but we know we're intentionally excluding them. So if we come on over to TitanBar and we take a look at patches, we want to come take a look at, and I need to delist that patch. Let's come look at the Griselda patch, and let's actually just do a search for TitanBar. Great. And we see TitanBar fixed remotes and Ember in German client. I want to check that out and make sure that that's not missing. In fact, let's sort by date here. We want to make sure the Griselda patch, we have the 135.30. Yep, okay. We want the moats. TitanBar was here. Griselda and I had patches from before then. In fact, yeah, let's come. I want to make a reminder myself to delist this. So. Delist this plugin patch. Kind of. I definitely want to put it in outdated, if nothing else. Profits asks, question. I believe I read that the API doesn't expose the ability to modify the floating names on NPCs, mobs, etc. Is this correct? This is correct. If we have an NPC here, in this case Hans, a plugin does not know that this text is on screen and cannot know. And why do I not see a mouse cursor? Very strange. Do I see a mouse cursor here? Yes, I do. But not there. I didn't set this thing to accidentally a different mode, did I? Full screen windowed. Alright, windowed. Well, there's the mouse. Full screen windowed. There's the mouse. Okay. Sorry, just got distracted. So, Hans here is not really a fair comparison, though, because this is not a true NPC, it is a cosmetic pet. So, for a little bit more of a fair, straight-up comparison, Provisioner. A plugin can know that I have selected an NPC called Provisioner. I've deselected it, I've selected it, deselected it. If the thing that I have selected has things like morale, power, other attributes that are visible, effects on it, these are visible to a plugin. But the fact that there is healer over here and provisioner, and there was a store townsperson, but that walked off the screen, those are not things that a plugin has a way to know are happening. A plugin can't know that store townsperson just walked across the screen. Those are not things that are exposed via the LOTRO plugin API. So, yeah, if you have clicked on them, if you're targeting them, if they're in your targeting thing here, yes. And there are UI customizations that plugins can do to replace these. For instance, I use MiniRaid a lot, and MiniRaid can replace your player frame, your target frame, your party frame, just like a plugin can replace your bag. But what they can't do is know that something is on screen like that. Unless that thing that's on screen is also saying something. If a townsperson is walking by and they say, "Oh, it's such a lovely day out," a plugin can know that townsperson said, "Oh, it's such a lovely day out." So those are kind of the edges where we brush up against what you can and can't do with LOTRO plugins. Cool, thanks for the question. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to download each of these, and I feel like this one's going to be easier. And we want to make sure that whatever changes it's doing are represented in what we're about to release. This is for 34.1.1. Well, let's see what we have. So I'm selecting a folder for comparison. Have no plugins, compare. Let's see what's up. Okay. So I only don't show no orphans. Don't care about those. The only thing that's changed is the German file. Okay. What we want to check is the motes of enchantment and the embers of enhancement. Or I'm going to get those confused. And what we want to do is double check this against data files that have been extracted from the game files. So we're going to come on in to LOTRO data. And we're going to start in the paper items English file. So motes of enchantment. So we start here because we have this identifier. And we're going to find that identifier. And we're going to find it, well, in numerous places, as it turns out. Okay, let's open up paper items German and just find it there. So, motes of enchantment. Oh, that's not helpful. Well, let's search for mote of enchantment and make sure we're not searching for the wrong thing. Okay, barter. Great. Nope, nope. I can't remember where the authoritative version is, so we're just going to look through this for a moment. It's not in deeds, not in disenchantments. Barterers. Nope. Items. Items actually sounds plausible. Let's go ahead and do a search for that. Items. Great. We can see that the change is trying to go to Staub der Verzauberung, and that is the value we see here as well. So let's go ahead and paste that in. Now, they're using a different form of the your word in German, and I don't know enough German to care, or to be able to evaluate if they're correct or not, to second guess them. Okay, Emperor. embers. Embers of enchantment. Let's search for that. Okay. Funken der Verzauberung. And we can see that that matches what the patch says as well. So, let's go ahead and pull that in, and we can see that was the only change. Little Redhead says, Core just posted the Glamdring Game World will be brought down for maintenance on Tuesday, that's today, at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is in 40 minutes. We will let you know when the world reopens. Thank you for your patience, and we will see you back in the game. Okay. So, we have seen that the only difference between that patch and what we have is that what we have is includes these new files. So, we're going to go ahead and say included Thorman's fix for moats and ember names in German clan. Now, if one were being really thorough, one could go through the names of all the currencies in all the languages. However, it might be reasonable to say, are these correct in the French? So let's go take a look at that. So this should be this enchantment. Yep, that looks good. Actually, the problem I have members of enchantment, modes of enchantment. My only concern is the pluralness of that. Let's load this plugin on in and double check that the pluralness works in the English client at the very least. Okay, so we're going to bring up the wallet. We're going to go ahead and say Embers of Enchantment on here, and that is working. Good enough. And the other one, Modes of Enchantment on TitanBar. Also good enough. Okay. I will consider that good enough, especially because that is what they had as well. I'm not going to worry about the French ones. They seem correct enough for our purposes. Cool. Let's come on and see what else we have. So we have this patch. Great. Let's go ahead and get that committed. Okay, so once again have a clean working directory, except for these. And there's a thing called an ignore file if I wanted it to stop showing me them, but then I would have an ignore file to ignore, so we're just going to ignore them manually for a minute. Okay, that was... Okay, there's only one more that we want to look at, and this is Gaselda's. So we're going to go ahead and download this. I am extracting it over the other side. Extract all. Great. And I'm going to go ahead and just bring those files over. There's 7 files it's going to replace. And the reason I'm doing that is because we have source control. We can just say, hey, what changed in situ? So we now have an import Gaselda .calcstat. Okay, great. Dun, dun, dun. This is player info's tooltip. I don't think any of this is affecting what we're doing, is it? No, I feel pretty good about just taking that entirely. What I would be concerned about are the language files. Let's come on into the English one. So we've lost our new currencies. Let's bring that back in. We lost those fixes here for it versus its. I see someone's playing Planet Crafter over on the other computer. We have some new stuff that they're adding. Awesome. We have other stuff that they're adding. Great. Doesn't have anything to do with me other than I'm just rolling them into this. And a way to kind of future-proof this, if you're developing your own plugin, is consider having language files that are different files for different parts of the UI. So you make a central lang table somewhere, you import each of these, and they each have their own information into lang. Lang entry Windows is this. Lang entry, what do we have here? Tooltips is another, whatever. So that a change to one of them doesn't necessitate a change to another one. And then you can add new files completely without changing anything in the existing files. So instead of one single be-all locale file, which makes it easy to find things, you could fragment it up so that so that you don't have merge conflicts when multiple things are patching at the same time, or at least the chance of it goes a lot less. We are working in different parts of the system. Our language changes shouldn't impact each other, but they are because it's all in one file. I lost. Okay, so all the rest of that is fine. So we want to just do the same thing over here. Sorry, I'm just fascinated that there's 3 of these. No, they duplicated things. And it is fascinating. Or was it already like that? Hang on a second. No. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and bring in the 5 new currencies, and we just have stuff. That looks good. Alright, the introduction of the rucksack infos is interesting. We're going to hope it's right. Alright, we'll bring this on over. And then we just have these things. So the French and the English changes look very similar. The German changes also would look similar, but what's going on with this last line here? I would say that is not a part of this. We're going to get rid of that. Okay, so the German stuff is almost entirely the same. It just includes this extra MBI. And it's good that it's there, I assume. Let's take a look. So, rucksack, backpack, and information about your sack. Okay. So that was just missing before, it seems like. Well, that's not great. So good thing that's adding it in. So let's move on. Functions. We were doing stuff in here, delving writ and so forth. So we'll go ahead and bring that back in. Same thing here. what's going on here? They are removing semicolons, and it doesn't really matter, except I detest change for change's sake, except when I'm doing it and I want to. So we're going to go ahead and add those semicolons back in, just so we can more readily see what's happening. So all of this was going on, and it's been simplified, it looks like. Awesome. But delving writ, we need that. More delving writ, yep. Okay, so all of that's being simplified. Awesome. And that's it. And that's what we want to see, just those changes. TV resources, we're going to come in. Pretty sure we did something here as well. But the monster icon code, the player icon code, not worried about that. Patch by Casella, awesome. Connection to server has been lost. What, did I go AFK? Or did they bring down a different server and I didn't pay attention? Well, good thing I wasn't in the middle of anything important. Alright, maybe I just went AFK for however long. Fantastic. Alright, now we're going to put that in the background and ignore it for another 20 minutes. Great. And then we do need our stuff, so we're going to bring on this. Alright, so player icon code. They've done something fine here, which is to space it all out in different lines so you can actually read it instead of two very condensed lines that are hard to read. I have no problem with that. They've also looks like they are using hard-coded numbers. Why? Why? Yeah. Okay, player class IDs is get class, and then they're prefixing it with PC. Fine. So, I'm not going to be changing anything here, but just as a design note, I guess. When I see the indexing 23, 24, 31, 40, I know that these are the internal numbers that LOTRO is using to refer to these things. And it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing where we want to have the text guardian, the localized text here, but you could also have guardian equals PC23. Actually, you could have guardian equals 23. You could have hunter equals whatever, 162. And then you could make this PC concatenate guardian equals guardian. So that in your other location, so that in your other location, you could just have this be guardian. Or, I don't know, index them with the same thing. Instead of being PC guardian over here, just have it be guardian. And then when you're using it, and so on. So, yeah, and the player icon code, hang on a second. Player icon code is using that player class ID, which is the number, and then player class, we're using that as with the PC as the lookup into the language table, which I don't know why they have introduced this separateness. Why not just use 23 everywhere? You get the number back and use that as your lookup into each table. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I would say I find it unnecessary to be using magic numbers over here, magic numbers concatenated with PC over here, when there is a solution to this, which is to say, define your variable guardian equals 23 and use that in both of these places. But it's not my patch. It's just a thought that I have when I look at this patch by someone else. But that's fine. And then what changed here? Yeah, that is a concern for me because we're introducing a dependency on calcstat, it looks like, which I can understand. But let's come on in here and see if this is necessary if we just load this. It would appear it is not yet necessary. Where do we use this? Player info tooltips. Okay, player info. Bam. Unable to resolve package because of a calcstat. And that's where this falls down, is the changes that I introduced are only work. Now this only works if you have that installed. However, this is a short-term problem. Let's go ahead and get calcstat installed here just to see what happens. Critical hit. But I'm at 30%. Finesse, 50%. Tactical mitigation. Really? Okay. So, part of me is tempted to just do two separate patches. One that includes calcstat stuff, and one just says, you know what, if you pull in calcstat, it is not currently compatible with this release, because I know one community member is going to be releasing a revamped TitanBar that makes it easier to add currencies, they think, in the near future, or at least they would like to. And if that's the case, like the only file here that's the problem is the one that assumes the existence of calcstat, I assume. The error message that I'm getting here, let's go ahead and put that on screen. Yep, unable to resolve Casada calcstat. And presumably that has its own files to import. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stash these. Calc stat patch changes. Okay, so we've seen what it would take to include those, but we're not going to include them yet necessarily. And if that's the case, then how does TitanBar have a score of less than 3 with 200,000 downloads? What is this score even saying? 0.92 for this TitanBar? Five out of 5 with 8 votes. What is the score? Maybe that's like a search matching score? That's so weird. Sorry. Okay. So, we have a patch that includes those 5 other currencies, and we included, why not, the Motes and Ember enchantment, Motes and Ember German text. The calc stats use, the patch brings in a forced requirement of calc stat, which is a problem for me, but maybe Caselda can kind of backport these my patch changes into theirs instead, if they so choose. So I think we're going to leave it at that. I'll reach out to them and let them know that they could do that. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and start putting together a release. Could have sworn I'd already made these notes somewhere. Oh well. Okay, so let's go ahead and start putting together a release, including our release notes, and we'll find a better place to put this than an unsaved text editor. So, what does that look like? Well, in my documents folder, I have one called Plugin Along Releases. This is where I just put those things that I'm working on releasing. And we have a TitanBar patch from a previous thing. But I think that's not great. Instead, what we want to do is kind of go back to first principles. And we're going to come in over to the TitanBar 1351, and we're going to do a folder comparison. And I'm doing this off screen, my apologies. Okay, we want to see what's different. And we're going to need to update the .plugin file, among other things, because this is going to be, what on earth did I call my patch before? Okay, my patch I called it, I'm not sure. .2, okay, so I just appended another number onto it. Yeah, that works. So this is going to be .1, 35.30.1. So that's definitely going to be a change. And then in the plugin compendium, we can do the same thing, .1. reloader and unloader I'm not touching. So what we really want to do is just show differences, because we want to only bring over the files in question. Patches, you want to have the minimum set possible so that they have the best chance of not conflicting. TitanBar v1.35. Whatever it was I just said. .30.1. Okay, we're going to come on in here and in a folder, which is definitely not lost, LOTRO is online, plugins, have no plugins. So we're going to start with that. Then we're going to come on in and we're going to say what's at the top level. We're going to bring in both of those files. There's more mechanical ways to do this, where you can, presumably could build up a change set and then use that to copy files over. But we're just going to go ahead and do it the manual way, just to remind ourselves what these steps are that we would want to automate. So TitanBar, plugin of medium, bam. Then we're going to make a TitanBar folder. Okay, so in that we need a control folder. Okay, and from that, Amaranth silver piece, Central Gondor silver piece, hang on a second. Yeah, okay, it is there. Just want to make sure. Amaranth silver piece, Central Gondor silver piece, Delving Writ, Ember of Enchantment, Figment of Splendor, and I'm just using Control to multi-select here. Gift Giver Brands. Hold down Control, click, add it to the selection. Hero's Mark, Medallion of Lothlorien, Medallion of Moria, Motes of Enchantment, Stars of Merit, Token of Heroism, Wallet Tooltip, and Wallet Window. We're just going to bring those files over. Now, ideally, we see 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Great. In locale, we're going to take all of them, I think. Just the nature of a monolithic locale file. And then in resources, we have our new hero marks alternate. And then finally we have files here. No. Geez, Windows. I just want to make a window that approaches the border and have a key that says stop trying to snap. Alright, background, FRM main, FRM options, functions, function CTR, functions menu control, main. If you're thinking this is too many files to change to add a currency, you are correct. TB resource, TitanBar maintenance. Great. So we should see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of those files, and we can see 11 items here as well. Great. So this is plausibly all of the files that we want to bring over. But just so we can double check, I'm going to go ahead and recompare against this have no plugins. So what we should see, if we go ahead and again say no orphans, is no, well, actually no orphans is not right. Which comparison am I looking for here? If I don't show the orphans, or show differences but no orphans, I'm not seeing those new files. Alright, show orphans. We'll do it in 2 steps. So over on the right we have our Delving Writ Hero Mark Medallion of Lothlorien, Delving Writ, Hero Mark Medallion of Lothlorien, Medallion of Moria and Token of Heroism. We also have the Hero Marks alternate icon, and there's a to-do file that we don't want to release, so that's great. And then if we show differences but no orphans, we're going to capture the ref. So what we should see are, well, in fact, we can kind of flip back and forth to see that they are the same. Okay. So the patch changes, the files that we've brought in correspond to what we were looking for. That's great. Remember to wiggle the mouse. I am not AFK. Now, we're going to go ahead and load the plugin, just because it's good to load the plugin and maybe test it out before releasing changes. So, Delving Writ, we're going to show it on the toolbar. Token of Heroism on the toolbar. Hero Mark on the toolbar. Medallion of Moria on the toolbar. And the Medallion of Lothlorien on the toolbar. Cool. Now, we did much more thorough testing of things before, but we can go ahead and say, set back color, and notice that all of these are working. Oh, sorry, apply to all elements, and this is all working. And then default, black, transparent, default. Okay. Cool. So we had the files that we need for this release, except we don't necessarily have the information we're going to be posting. So let's back up a moment. Is this something that we already have somewhere in our source control? TitanBar resources? No. So it says, nice. Yeah, we are very close to releasing this, I think. So, I did not apparently document this. What we're going to do is come into the edit button so that we can copy all of this. And we're going to come in and edit it somewhere. Maybe in here. Probably not. Maybe somewhere with more space. Okay. So, TitanBar is a great interface for showing blah, blah, blah. 1104, yep. Pieces small in a small space. This patch adds 5 currencies and some small bug fixes, and some typo and bug fixes. And fixes some typos and bugs. Okay. currencies added. And then we just come in and we start copying things. Delving Right. Token of Heroism. Hero's Mark. You know, let's go ahead and use the plural, why not? Delving Writs. Tokens of Heroism. Heroes' Mark. Medallions of Moria. And medallions of Lothlorians. Bear says, is it possible to track LOTRO points earned and spent by only one character? So, LOTRO plugins are able to notice when you earn LOTRO points, but there's no current interface for a LOTRO plugin to see how many LOTRO points your account has, because LOTRO points are a weird currency in that they're the only one that exists across all servers. They're an account-wide currency, and everything else is server-wide. How many Mithril coins you have, Delving Writs, Fall Festival tokens, any of that, it only exists on Treebeard here, on this server that I'm on. But LOTRO points is a bigger thing. And so the LOTRO API that plugins use don't have a way to see what your current value of LOTRO points are. But they can see when you earn LOTRO points. So if I come on in here and I say, I have 500 LOTRO points. Let's go ahead and say we're showing it on the bar. Then TitanBar can show, or any plugin that's trying to do this, can show you that you have 500. Brayvon says, boo, server's down. The Glamdring world is going to be brought down for maintenance just about now, but they are planning on bringing it back up in the future. So if you were playing on Glamdring, then welcome to a virtual LOTRO experience, I guess. So a plugin you can tell a plugin how many LOTRO points do I have now, and a plugin can know when you earn LOTRO points, but there's no notification that a plugin can observe when you spend LOTRO points in the LOTRO store. So that's where you can get a desynchronization between a plugin and your actual LOTRO point balance. So if you spend something here, you would have to then go in and tell whatever plugin you're using, in this case TitanBar, okay, I just spent 50 of my LOTRO points, so I now only have 450. Bam. But then it can go ahead and track further LOTRO point gains. Everyone says, can I borrow some of your LOTRO points? I'm afraid I must hoard them for Cariels and the like, because I have a love of Cariels. But thank you for the offer. So that's what you can. So Obuyer in chat, that's what you can do with a plugin like TitanBar and anything else that offers this capability. Is you can tell it where you are, and it can see how many you gain, but the spending of them is outside of what a plugin can see. So you just have to remember to go back in and adjust that if and when you do spend something. But the rest of the time, if I have 450 LOTRO points, then I go earn a bunch from completing deeds or what have you, then this will be an accurate representation of what I can expect to see when I click the LOTRO store button. Possibly if you redeem codes for LOTRO points, that may not produce a chat message, so we may not be able to track that. Basically, whatever you're doing in the LOTRO store is outside of the bounds of what a LOTRO plugin can see or monitor or be involved with. And that makes sense from a security perspective. If a LOTRO plugin can't interact with your LOTRO store at all, then you don't have to worry about it, accidentally buying something for you. What's that? You wanted 700 max morale and power scrolls? Okay. You don't have to worry about someone making a funny plugin that spends all your LOTRO points, because that's just not something LOTRO plugins can do. But yeah, it means anything that happens in this window outside the loop, probably. It's possible when you hit that redeem coin button, you do see a chat message. I can't remember. I think we've tested this before. But definitely when you buy something, you don't see that message. So, Omar, I don't know if that helps you kind of reconceptualize what plugins can and can't do with LOTRO points, but they can do a lot. They just can't track when you spend. Specifically LOTRO points. Any currency that's just server-wide or character-specific, that is available through the LOTRO plugin API, and so we can have accurate numbers for the rest of these. Oh, Omar says, oh, you're wanting to track LOTRO points earned and spent specifically by one character because you want to see how many the points are earned versus spent compared to everything else. That is something a plugin could do, try to allocate your LOTRO point earnings per character. But I don't know of a plugin that actually does that. Because whenever you earn LOTRO points outside of possibly redeeming codes in the store, but in general, when that's a good point, little red head. We'll circle back around. So whenever you get a chat message, that character has earned you some LOTRO points. So a plugin could kind of file that away into which bucket and then give you a breakdown. But I don't know of a plugin that does that kind of reporting. Now, people in chat are mentioning DTracker. DTracker will tell you how many LOTRO points are left. It'll kind of tell you the opposite. So let's take a look at that. If you're not familiar with it, where is my plugin compendium? We're going to go ahead and install DTracker. DTracker by B4, that's me. And we're going to come in here, hit refresh, and load up DTracker. So DTracker tells you how many LOTRO points are available. So in this case, 14,010 according to the current configuration I have. And I might come in here and say this is a legendary server, so there's more available. This is not. This is available 9 server. That doesn't actually change it. Landscape difficulty deeds? Nope. Okay. So you kind of set it up, and then you have on a brand new character, or if you haven't imported any data or set up your deeds on this character, you can see, okay, there's this many LOTRO points currently available. And people have requested that if you hover over, it maybe says how many you've earned. That's something that we can know, but we don't display currently. So if there's 14,000 available, and let's go ahead and import my actual completion here. So I'm going to go into Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins, Cube Plugins, DTracker, and we'll just hit that Import Deed Completion from LOTRO Companion, Treebeard, Affodil. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and reload DTracker here. We're going to go ahead and import. So there's a little calculator here. Assuming most of the LOTRO points come from deeds, then we know that this character has earned me 2,755 LOTRO points. But that's sort of a byproduct of what DTracker is doing, so it's not tracking how many, it's not giving you a place to track how many this character has spent, or if there's any other way to earn LOTRO points, it's not tracking that as well. Yeah, Tillarian, I have the same thought. One could make a very small plugin that just anytime a character earns LOTRO points, they just record that, this many, allows you a UI to specify, I just spent this many LOTRO points on this character, or with this character, and then gives some way to show that information in some way. Like a plugin could definitely do that, but I don't know of any plugin that's quite doing what Obair is talking about here. But what an interesting idea. Now I'm curious, Obair, if you buy an account-bound item like a carry-all, does that count against that one character, or does it not, because other characters have access to it also. I'm just kind of curious how you conceptualize this spending of LOTRO points. But in the meantime, we've double-checked that TitanBar works. There we go. Where it says, it's a good workaround. Sometimes that's what you have to do with the tools that we're given. All right, currencies added. Delegates, tokens of heroism, heroes marks, medallions of Moria, medallions of Lothlarian. Great. And then if we come back with a update to this patch that adds other ones, we would just update that list. Cool. To install, first you need to do that. This patch only includes the necessary changes. Hey, I have an idea. Let's add word wrap to update that plugin. To install it, you can use the plugin compendium or just unzip that. Next, download this patch and unzip it. It also contains that. You'll be prompted to write files. Answer yes. Load the plugin. Use the game's built-in plugin manager. Yep. Find TitanBar. Verify the version is 30.1. Yes. If it is 30, then you have not properly. If it is that, then you have not properly installed the patch. And click load. And version history. Holy moly, last time I did a TitanBar patch was 3.5 years ago. Time flies. Tempest Fugate and all that. We're going to go ahead and just list out the other changes that we've done, just because this seems like as good of a place as any. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fixed issue of player attributes being used for initialization. Let's do the typos first. Okay. Don't need that one anymore. And that's pretty much all we needed here. We have the version, initial release. We have the changes this does, and the currencies this adds. You know what? Let's go ahead and be all fancy and put this into a list also. I think it says, is Glamdring down? Yes, per an announcement by Cord about an hour ago, the Glamdring game world will be brought down for maintenance, 11 minutes ago. We will let you know when the world reopens. Thank you for your patience, and we'll see you back in the game soon. So double check on the forums or in the official Discord server for updates to that progress. I'm over here on Treebeard, which is lovely. We'll just give you a nice view of the deadly, deadly terrain. The taker of the Undying title. So, in my copious spare time, I play some Valheim. If you get far enough along in Valheim, you get what's basically a Featherfall cloak. You can never fall faster than a certain speed. You never take falling damage. It's great. Love it. And then I switched over to a world where I didn't have a Featherfall cloak and nearly killed myself numerous times just jumping off of high ledges that used to not be a problem. And I also miss it very much in LOTRO. Especially because coming from an MMO background like World of Warcraft, where mages explicitly have a Featherfall a spell that they can cast, or at least they, in my memory, tells me they did 20 years ago. It was like the best part of being a mage, practically. Okay, so we have this write-up. What we need to do now is make our zip file. So, coming on in here, making the zip file, it's going to look very similar to the old one. We're actually going to use the correct name, though. And we're just going to make a brand new zip file. It says, that would be nice, love my feather cape. Yeah. For Andreas points out, burglars do have a skill to remove the fall speed penalty, but it doesn't prevent death. And it feels like that is underpowered now that the total fall speed injury duration has been quartered from a minute down to 15 seconds and scaled down appropriately for lesser damages. So what before would have been a 20-second fall speed hindrance is now a 5-second fall speed hindrance. Annoying, but you can do other things for 5 seconds, or you can just stagger along. Some sort of thing that you could equip that just means you kind of float down instead of plummet would be a welcome addition for those of us who sometimes run a little bit too close to the edge. Okay, new zip file. So one of the things in minigames, Valheim and also LOTRO, are trade-offs of equipment slots. For instance, over on Lord of the Rings Online, if you want to disable your experience gain, then you need to equip Stone of the Tortoise in your pocket spot. And I would very much be willing to swap out my cape spot for a cape that has that kind of feather fall ability that says you don't take falling damage and you also don't fall faster than a certain speed. And I would take that hit because the majority of the time when I'm using a cape like that, it's not in like an endgame raid where I have to worry about my stats. It's not in a life or death situation. It's I'm running around in Glen Hellick and I would just like to not crater, please. So I would very much be willing to buy an item in the LOTRO store that takes my cloak spot, that gives me a featherfall-like ability instead of stats. Just like the Stone of the Tortoise gives you you don't earn experience instead of your stats. That'd be great. I'd pay money for that. I don't know how it fits within the lore of the world. I don't know if they can point to anything and be like, look, this other character once did this, so we can kind of bring it into the world a little bit. It's very MMOE / Dungeons and Dragons-y, and not necessarily very Lord of the Rings-y, Middle-earthy, but it's still something I would very much like to see in the game. Fortunately, I'm not in charge of making those decisions, but if anyone from Standing Stone Games marketing is watching, let's talk. For Andreas says, I think they would have to revisit and fix the landscape, otherwise you could get into places you're not supposed to get with no way out. I could see that being a thing. However, there's already ways to get into landscapes that you're not supposed to get into with no way out, and oftentimes you'll just hit an out-of-bounds message. Like if you're in the Misty Mountains and you end up in this spot here trying to get in a back way into Rivendell, eventually you're gonna hit an out of bounds and it just teleports you back to your starting zone. Right? Like it's possible to do it, or at least it was the last time I made a concerted effort to find that hidden path of the mountain. But unless you stay really close to the edge here on the inside, you're just out of bounds and they teleport you away. So, I feel like at a certain point, if you're opting into that kind of scenery exploration, then woe be upon you if your character falls through the ground and is never heard from again. Or, dies. Okay, but we have our zip file. It is empty. And we're going to go ahead and drag in Havna plugins. And this is just a key thing when you're making a plugin for when you're making a zip file for a plugin or for a patch, is you need the first directory in the zip file to match that first directory that's going to end up in your plugins directory. And if you just right-clicked on something and said make this into a zip file, if you're really confident with that action, that's fine. If you know which one you have to click on in order to make that happen. But I feel like if you try to zip up this, it would be the wrong level, and if you're trying to zip up this, it'll have the wrong name. You don't want it to have the name, have no plugins. But if I send this to a compressed zip folder, then it does start with have no plugins, but it has the wrong name. I want it to be TitanBar v blah blah blah. But if we go ahead and compare the contents here, all expand. Oh, actually, just should ifs. So the contents are the same when you do it that way, but the name now needs to be changed. So 601 half nodes either drag it into a differently named zip file or create it here and then rename it. Whatever process makes you happy. But the danger is you might come in here and right-click this and say, go ahead and send this to a zip file, and then you will get a zip file that is not set up the way it needs to be. It'll have the TitanBar v13530.1 as the top level folder within the zip file, and that's no good. Okay, so we have our zip file. Let's go ahead and start releasing a patch. Every once in a while, my LOTRO interface homepage does not do well. So, we're going to go somewhere else. LOTRO interface, TitanBar, Duriel. We're going to go ahead and come here and where's my add patch button? Gotta log in. Great. Upload patch. So we're going to go ahead and choose our file. We're in Plugin Along releases, TitanBar 3531. Attach images. I don't really think I need an image. I didn't think that before. Okay. Interface title. Wow. Okay. 35.30 patch 4. And I just want to grab the names of the currencies here. Now, I foolishly marked them up, but we can unfoolishly fix that. Okay, file version. Well, now I want to be cautious here that I do the same version. Now we have V 1 through 5.3. Okay, we have V, so I want to go ahead and do file version V 1 through 530.1. We're going to come on in here and grab this text. That's our text here. Rules and guidelines. It's always healthy to review the rules and guidelines occasionally, just to make sure that we remember what they are. You must attach both a zip file and an image when required. A picture is worth 1,000 words and helps plugin users immensely. Totally agree for plugins. This patch, I think, doesn't benefit from a picture nearly as much as a plugin does. Include a help TXT or doc file in the zip if your mod is difficult to install. It is not all the installations in the text that we've just pasted. You must include an informative and accurate description of what the file does. I feel like we've done that. Executable files are not allowed except for some very specific cases. We test and decompile all executable files that are submitted. In some cases, we may ask for the source. This process could take a while. Indeed. Do not include additional zip/RAR files inside the main zip/RAR file. Haven't done that. Additional compilation rules. Compilation must include a list of the plugins. You know what? I'm going to screenshot this so I can continue reading while they're thinking on the back end. Great. I have read, understand, and agree to these terms. I have, and I will do again. Okay. Additional compilation rules. Compilations must include a list of, well, this is not a compilation, so it doesn't matter, but must include a list of plugins used in the description, and executable files are not allowed in compilations. By uploading this file, you certify to the best of your knowledge. The file and its contents are free of viruses, trojans, spyware, malware, and worms. If anything malicious is found, you will be banned and your account information handed over to proper authorities. This file conforms to Turbine's OODA, or End User License Agreement. This file is offered free of charge and is not available elsewhere for a fee. You certify that either you are the copyright holder of all documents being submitted or have permission to submit them. This file or the contents thereof are not harmful or offensive in any way. This file is free from advertisements or promotions or nag screens. This file has no time limit and is free to use. Paid or trialware are not accepted here. The description that you are providing to this file accurately reflects the contents of the file. Your upload file conforms to the rules listed above. All uploads are posted pending verification by an admin or file moderator. For Andreas, wait, you clicked I have read before finished reading. Well, in this case, I have read these in the past, and I'm just refreshing my and your memory. But it is true. I did do the thing that you were saying technically. Thank you, person. Your interface or update has been submitted to our database and is now awaiting approval from one of our file administrators. This could take a while, depending on if they're awake. Your submission will be deleted if file upload is incomplete, missing zip file, or file isn't zipped, missing images, uploaded to the wrong category. Files that were not modified are included in the zip, creating waste. Only submit the files you modified with no default files. If you include the default files in your zip, your skin is sure to break soon. We won't host those. True-ish of plugin files as well, but I'm sure as a skin it's especially a problem. Unknown X's and VEBs and other executable programs are included in the zip. Interface/plugin is larger than 40 megabytes, and you uploaded it in multiple parts. Should never be over 40 megabytes. I think the JRR skins is over 100 megabytes at this point. We may or may not contact you if we decline your submission, just being honest. We will be scanning your submission for malicious files before it's available for public download. If such files are found in this submission, your information will be given to the proper authorities for further investigations. All times are GMT +1. So, just something to, pause and ponder on while we're waiting for that to process. Now, if we come in here, this file is currently awaiting approval from a file admin. You'll only be able to download older versions of this file. There are no older versions of the file. I'm not even sure what it will do. Aha, nothing. It asked me to choose from a list of 0. That's fair. So, as the text says very clearly, this can take between 0 and all of the time before someone approves it. So don't stress out about it if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, and no one has approved it. If it's 2 days later and no one has approved it, that is an abnormality. And it might be worth reaching out to say, hey, has anyone heard from a mod? But if it's been less than 24 hours, just, breathe, start working on the next bug fix, the next feature, the next plugin, and don't worry about it too much. But this is a good reminder that if you have something that's time sensitive, like you want to release a treasure event plugin in time for treasure event, maybe push it out more than a day ahead of the treasure event starting, or the spring festival in this case. If I had some great new feature for the Festival Buddy 2 plugin, I would probably want to time it so that I knew that it was going to be approved before Spring Festival began. Instead of, oh, it's the first day of Spring Festival, push, and then they're busy, they're playing Spring Festival, they don't get a chance to review it and click OK, and then it's, however long later. But almost always, just like with server transfers on LOTRO, almost always this process does not take very long before someone approves it. Just like normally a server transfer in LOTRO takes not very much time at all. And then every once in a while. Okay. Refresh. Still waiting. Okay. So, one thing I'm already thinking is I should have mentioned that this is not compatible with this other patch. So let's go ahead and make that change now. As long as I don't change the zip file, as long as I'm just changing the description, this does not seem to impact or affect the review time for a new zip file. Okay. Other changes. So, note, this patch is not compatible with the calc.stat patch by Misella. Please comment if you feel a combination of the two would be useful. Please comment below if you feel a combination of the two would be useful. And then update. Take me there. Still awaiting approval. And then add to email feed. Wow. Okay. Still awaiting approval. Refresh. 11 views, probably all of them me. Friend says, on the other hand, I usually wanted to double check the changes also work. That's very fair. What we could do, actually, we can come back in and say, okay, our fork, version bump. Let's go ahead and commit those. What we can do is run through that. So if I were to coming into TitanBar, this is in LOTRO Plugin Online plugins, we can actually delete everything that's here. Now, we should not have deleted the Git repository that's there. That's a hidden folder. We can paste have no plugins back in, and we can see there's a bunch of changes. Hang on a second. Why are there a bunch of changes? Because it's all underneath one extra level of foldering. There we go. So, coming in here, and we can see all of the things that have changed by that. Then, if we extract our patch file into this location, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to extract that into my downloads directory. Great. And we're going to go ahead and put that back. So 25 files with the same name, replace them. And then come back into here, and we can see the only thing that's different is our to-do file wasn't included in there. And that's fine. That wasn't supposed to be released anyway. So I'll undo that deletion. So, for Andre says, I mean for the festival patches, I usually release my plugins day one patch, even if I've prepared with bulwark data to make sure there's no breaking change. Absolutely. Your mileage may vary on how appropriate it is to release ahead of time or before a big event. With festivals, it kind of depends what we're talking about. If something's thoroughly testable ahead of time, then yeah, you can feel comfortable releasing it day zero. If something requires the festival to actually be running in order to develop and or test, totally understand wanting to pause and wait. Very situational. But you as a plugin developer will have a sense of which of those really applies for your case. But in this case, we can see that the patch does bring us back to exactly where we were when we left off, minus a file that wasn't released in the first place. And if we go ahead and reload that plugin, we should still see everything is working just fine. So we have our stuff here. If I go ahead and come on in and say, you know what, I really want my hero mark to be in the tooltip, we can see tooltips are working just fine. So we're doing good here. Now we are coming up on 2 hours in the stream. I really wanted to get this released out into the world, and that's what we've done. So I think we're probably drifting towards the end of this stream. So if you have any last minute questions, comments, concerns, now's a great time to get them into chat. Okay, I have so many Explorer windows open. I must do something about that. But first, I must refresh. Currently waiting approval. Darn these time zone changes. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that and minimize that. Fantastic. And in the meantime, was there anything else I wanted to think about or do in this game? Something I noticed the other day, because we are just now getting into North Ithilien over here on Treebeard with our kind of Slotro questing group, is a fun interaction between the herbalist flowers of North Ithilien and the benefit of the Fateful Toolkit, which was an optional extra if you got a one of the versions of the Fate of Gundabad release. Andrea says, a nice, just caught the end of the stream, but thanks for your plugin work. You are very welcome. So the Fateful Toolkit, if you do have one of these, or if you don't, then has a plus 10% wallet barter tokens ability on it. Festival and landscape wallet barter tokens through Gundabad, so nothing after that, you get plus 10%. But the effect is rounded up. So if you would normally get one of a thing, you add 10%, now you're getting 1.1 of them, and that rounds up to the nearest number, which is 2. So you effectively have doubled the number of the thing that you are getting. Oh man, while I was at it, I should have added these files to TitanBar. Oh well. So when you are gathering your herbalist flowers, anytime you would have gotten one thing, you because of the Fateful Toolkit bumping up, you're getting 2. 2 becomes 3, 3 becomes 4, and so on. Now, beyond 10, you can start getting bonus numbers, and that usually just comes from festival tokens, like the barter box for one of them, maybe Yule or Spring or something. You get 12 of them. Well, you add in 10% of 12, so that's 13.2, and that rounds up to 14. So you end up getting plus 2 of those tokens. Now, normally you can't tell how many of these you were going to get, but if you are in a fellowship with the right rules, you'll get a pop-up showing you what's in this, just like if it was a chest, which is kind of under the covers how it's implemented. So in a fellowship, you can see the items before you loot them, and you can see, oh, there's this many of them, there's this many of them, and then you can see that the Fateful Toolkit's power does indeed increase that by 10% rounded up. So that's a fun thing. If you have the Fateful Toolkit, or if you have the funds to acquire it, and find the acquiring of files of whatever extract in North Ithilien to be a bit of a drag, consider using that toolkit, because for small quantities where you're only getting 1 or 2 out of these, it's essentially 100% or 50% boost to the number of extracts that you're getting. And Amber Extract, I've only found 4 of them, but I think, but each one of them was in the quantity of 1, which was doubled to 2. And I hear those are very useful when you're going to an actual, like, costs 125 to barter for it kind of usefulness. For Andreas agrees, yeah, the toolkit is OP for this. It works for some other currencies as well. Yeah, this was just the most noticeably interesting because there's so many landscape barter tokens here in North Ithilien. Like, you can't go 20 feet without finding another flower that has some extracts to pull out of it. And it works on all of them. And I had heard that the herbalists of North Ithilien could be a challenging thing to get through because there's a lot of this collection. And having this Fateful Toolkit on my completionist character here, I think is going to make this whole experience just flow a lot more smoothly. Oh, Frandre says there's even one where you get 3 times 1 instead of 3, so you double to 6. Oh, yes, I have seen that where, well, I don't want to fight you, Prowler, mostly because I'm worried about dying. Yes, I have seen that where instead of 3 1s, it's or instead of 1 3, it's 3 1s, and the Fateful Toolkit just it really shines when you have that kind of a collection system going, and it just automatically is just increasing all those numbers by 1, which is just very very not game breaking. Again, when you are able to splurge on some of these more expensive game bundles, you're not buying game breaking things, you know. But you are buying quality of life, ease of play items sometimes. And I think the Fateful Toolkit definitely stands out as one of those where It just is subtly making it's greasing the way a little bit and subtly making things easier. And in North Ithilien, it feels a lot less subtle. It's like, oh yeah, this is giving me a lot more of the extracts than I might otherwise have. So just a note, if you have one floating around but you're not using it on a character and that character is in North Ithilien, maybe take the time to move that toolkit over. Super duper neat. Anyway, that's what's on my mind because that's where we are over on Treebeard. There we go. Let's see. File is currently waiting approval. Oh well. All right. Fortnite says North Ithilien is when I hit level cap. I welcomed the flower picking change or flavor picking change. Maybe that's a typo. I'm not sure. Yeah, I could see if you were playing along live on this and you knew you had to wait another 6, 12, 24 months before a sizable chunk of content came along. I think the roving through North Ithilien and picking flowers thing would feel very different than if you are on a standard server whose level cap is 150 and you're like, do I want to kind of divert from progressing the story and pick flowers in North Ithilien when the blockade of mortar is just waiting right around the corner and the wastes and everything beyond. And one of the things I really enjoy about playing here on Treebeard is that you do have these pauses for breathing space where you get to engage with mechanics of the game that are meaningful for a long enough period of time that you're rewarded for doing so. I saw someone in the treasure event of all things on the server who was just decked out in Host of the West and Herbalist gear that they had probably spent some time riding around getting these flowers, getting all the other materials in order to do their bartering, in order to get their things. And I don't know that they would have seen the same turnaround on their investment if they were playing on a standard server where by the time they're done with that, they're 10 levels ahead already. But here, they're going to get to enjoy that equipment and play around with it for another 3 months here, give or take. And yeah, that's pretty neat. So I'm a little bit behind on that, but looking forward to seeing what it's like. I have been through North Ithilien, again, on a standard server where, or possibly on a Nor, where the level cap was way higher, and it was like, well, I don't have any time to stop here, gotta go. And so now I get to engage with the mechanics here. So that's pretty cool. Okay. That being said, that is everything we are going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I do hope to see you all here next week, and until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.